Let's use an array formula to count the number of unique entries in a column. Now I have an Excel file open here with a table that has several thousand rows inside of here. Let's take a look at how many we have. If I select a cell and do Control down arrow, you can see that I have 2156 rows of information in this table. I'd like to count the number of unique entries in this column. The first thing I'd like to do is name the column that contains the entries that I want to count. So I'm going to come out here and click on the top value and then do a Control Shift down arrow. That will select the whole column. And then over here in the name box, I'm going to click once and type in some unusual name like prod name and then press enter. And that names the column. Next, I'm going to scroll to the right, give myself a little bit more room. And I'm going to come out here and inside of a cell, I'm going to go ahead and type in equals sum, open parentheses, 1 divided by, open parentheses, and I'm going to use the COUNTIF function. And then what I want to do is count the named column. I'm going to go ahead and type in PROD. I see this show up in my listing here. I'm going to go ahead and select that and then choose tab, plugs it in, another comma, prod name one more time, press tab, use a close parentheses, close parentheses, close parentheses. And if I do a Control Shift Enter to create my array formula, I can see that I have 77 unique entries in this column. I've copied some of the salesperson's names in a new column over here on the left, much smaller, so it'll be a little easier to explain. I'm going to go ahead and select this column and give it a name. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it salespeople, and I'll press enter. Next, let's just use the COUNTIF by itself. And I'm going to click next to Andrew here, and I'm going to go ahead and just type in salespeople for my range. And I'm going to go ahead and just check for Andrew here to see how many times Andrew shows up. Now this is not going to use the array formula right now. I'm just going to go ahead and press enter. And I can see that Andrew shows up 6 times in this list. Sure enough, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Now in turn, if I come back here to the formula and I take COUNTIF and I divide it by 1, when I go ahead and press enter, I end up with 1.16667. which is 1/6 of the total number of entries for Andrew. Next, if I were to come out here and take this formula, as you can see, Andrew shows up here, 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 and here. 6 entries. That is, if I were to take these values, add them all together, I would get the number 1. So in this case, I would find out on the list that Andrew only shows up once. It's going to happen for every one of these. Margaret shows up several times, here, here, and if I were to take and add all of Margaret's together, it would also equal 1. So essentially what's happening here is the sum function is going to go ahead and sum all these individual fractions, as many as they occur, and as many as there are, they've all been divided by 1. So when you add them back together, you will get the number 1. Let's take it a step further and apply the array formula. Sum, open parentheses, 1 divided by, open parentheses, COUNTIF, open parentheses, I'm going to just salespeople, select that, press tab, comma, one more time, type in salespeople, select it from the list, on the tab, close paren, close paren, close paren, hold down the keys Control, Shift, and then enter. I see that I have 8 unique entries in this column. Putting the sum in front of this and using the Control Shift Enter and applying the array formula, what it's doing is it's breaking it out just like it did before, but instead of just doing one entry, I'm comparing salespeople against salespeople, and the magic of the array formula takes every entry in the list and does essentially what happened with just Andrew. And when it's all done with this, it adds all those values up. Because they're all fractions that have been summed up, you get just the count of the unique entries.